Chapter 1141 We Can Work Together. Lin Che's home had an uninvited guest. Li Mingyu. She looked speechlessly at Li Mingyu. He said, "Wow, the GU residence is really not bad. I shall renovate my house just like this." Lin Che asked, "Are you crazy now? Why are you copying everything? Are you secretly in love with Gu Jingze?" Li Mingyu said, "I sincerely think that you guys are good and that is why I want to learn from you. How can you doubt my sexuality?" Lin Che glared at him. "Just be direct. What are you doing here?" "Nothing. I was just bored, so I decided to drop by." "Hey, why are you bored? Aren't you setting up your company?" "It's not easy." "Of course, it's not. I can just leave it to my managing team." "What does that mean?" "It means that I'll just let my manager handle it." "Whoa, you even have a manager?" "Just offer 200 million yuan and they would do it." Was that how money should be spent? He was really something else. "What if they do a bad job?" Li Mingyu said, "I only need to tell him one piece of history." "What is that?" "Over the past 3 years, 3 managers have already died under my hands." Lin Che asked, "Are you for real?" "Of course not, silly." He reached out to knock her head. Lin Che avoided it and sniffed at him. "Li Mingyu, are you so bored that you had to come here and disturb me?" Nobody died. I'm such a nice person. How can I kill anyone? Only you would make me out to be a villain." "Fine, I did misunderstand you about some things. It was his fault for giving off a villainous vibe." "That's right, I can't possibly murder anyone. I only broke limbs and banished people in the past. How can I actually kill anyone?" "I take back what I said." She sat down and said, "All right. If you're really bored, you can go see your son at the kindergarten. My son is getting along well with your son, so he doesn't need my concern." "Ah, I'm thinking I don't know C Nation well and I don't know what's trending. I'm starting up my company soon and I don't know what to do." "You can do real estate or something." "I'm sick of it. Doing real estate every day made me bored to death." "Well, what about opening a mall?" "That's boring as hell. There are already more than 30 malls out there and I'm too lazy to think of a name." "Seriously, rich people problems." Lin Che suggested, "What about games? I think it's rather popular now too." He immediately asked, "Games? I have not done that before." "Hey, it's not bad. I can give it a shot and invest a few billion yuan. I'll see if I can get something out of it." Hey, you don't have to invest so much," Lin Che said, "all right. I'm just talking casually about it. Don't blame me if you lose your money." "Why would I blame you? I think you're a lucky charm. I'd like to work with you and invest in it." Lin Che looked at him in surprise. "Oh, I don't have money." "I do. I have money and you have people. You interact with plenty of young people. See what they're learning and you can come up with a plan while I'll come up with the money." "I'm afraid I'll end up losing my arms and legs because of you," she said. "Don't think that way. How could I possibly decapitate you? I wouldn't bear to." "No, I'm not doing it either. It's too much pressure." She had never thought about doing all these. She started a film company because she knew there wouldn't be any big problems. If he caused something bad to happen, what could she do? Li Mingyu heard this and rubbed his chin. "Fine, I guess I'll have to find another manager to do it. Oh, but if someone else manages it, losing arms and legs will probably happen." "Ah, okay. Lin Che looked at him. "Why are you so brutal?" "Just because she suggested doing games and he really wanted to do it. If he did it and someone lost their limbs, she would also feel guilty." "Then you should do it. If it is you, I promise nobody will be losing their limbs. Furthermore, it's not like you have other things to do." Lin Che thought about it and he was right. She just finished the TV series and now, she was free. She was pregnant and could not go outside. It was her time of boredom. Lin Che said, "Well, let me think about it. But I'll make it clear first. I don't have money and I won't be able to invest much. I can try asking around." "You don't need to invest in it. You just need to manage the plan while I manage the money. Isn't it perfect?" Lin Che said, "I used to love playing games, but I haven't played games in a long time. Next time, I'll see what people like to play nowadays. Deal. We'll exchange WeChat contacts and keep in touch. Hey, you know how to use WeChat now? Well, whatever is popular in C Nation, I'll catch up with the trend. You don't understand it. I'm the kind of person who doesn't want to fall behind. Lin Che said, if you dismember people for fun, I'd still believe it. After Li Mingyu left, Lin Che discussed it with Gu Jingze. In the study room, she looked at Gu Jingze and asked, what should I do now? Can I work with him? Gu Jingze said, if he really wants to be your friend, he's probably serious about it. If you're interested, you're welcome to give it a try. Really, but I'm worried because I haven't done this before. What if I don't succeed? If you can't do it, you can naturally hire a professional. Remember that if you start doing this, you're a manager and an investor. You're allowed to hire many professionals to provide you with solutions. You just need to choose one that you think is suitable, so you really don't have to feel as if you can't do it. Lin Che held her chin. Okay, I really don't know how, but I do think it's rather interesting after listening to him. The important thing is I'm just too bored at home. Gu Jingze shook his head. This woman could never sit still. However, he supported her decision as long as she seriously considered things. If she was interested, she could definitely try. He could silently support her from behind. Gu Jingze said, all right, give it a shot. Lin Che said, okay, I'll try, but she sprawled across the table and looked at Gu Jingze. Well, does Li Mingyu really cut off people's limbs? Whose limbs? Well, his subordinates who screw up. Oh, it's true. Lin Che said, then I should rethink this. That is his way, but it has always been a rumor. I've never seen it. It might be true. After all, he's too lazy and finding managers to do the job always leads to plenty of problems. Chapter 1142 So precious to be pregnant. Lin Che was just puzzled that these wealthy people seemed different in person from all those rumors about them. Anyway, she believed what was in front of her eyes. She had no way to prove that those rumors were true, so she had to trust her gut feelings. In any case, she did feel that although Li Mingyu would intentionally pick on people, he was rather nice to her. Gu Jingze said, it's going to be the Mid-Autumn Festival soon and the family left Shui Mengqi to organize the banquet. We'll attend it together. Do I have to worry about her putting anything in my food? Lin Che asked. Gu Jingze's gaze hardened and was cold as ice. Only if she doesn't want to be alive. Okay, you're right. If anything bad happens, especially in a Gu family party that she organized, the one in trouble would be her. Shui Mengqi took a short time to complete preparations for the banquet. In that short duration, she was well prepared. The attendees were all amazed. Mengqi is really capable. She had such a short time limit and she could do such a good job. Well, that's because she's talented. Nothing can stop her. She's not like those wild chickens outside. She is a phoenix who shines, no matter what. At the entrance, Shui Ningxian heard everyone praise Shui Mengqi and quickly thank them. It's all thanks to everyone. Thanks to everyone's help. No, to have such a daughter, we're really envious too. Shui Ningxian looked at Shui Mengqi, laughed, and said, it's a pity that our family can't. If she stays with us, we're only holding her back. This meant that their family could not let Shui Mengqi be like Lin Che, who could use her well-known name to compete. Even if she didn't have the abilities, she could still take part and join the competition. But Shui Mengqi had to depend on her own abilities. Some said sneakily, rumor has it that Lin Che is angry with Gu Jingze. Haha, I just knew it. This kind of pampering love could not last long. Sooner or later, one will get sick of it. Well, she will get old one day and turn ugly. Now that she's pregnant, having a huge belly makes her look scary. Jingze is bound to get sick of looking at her daily. A man needs to live his life. While other girls are young and slender, the one beside him is big-bellied and bearing a second child. Won't he have a change of heart? This rumor that Gu Jingze and Lin Che were not on good terms recently, already spread through every corner of the entire Gu family. Even Mu Wanqing caught wind of this and began to have her doubts. Did they really fight? They did have little tiffs through the years, but they were never really angry for this long. But winds don't come from nowhere. If there really was nothing, how could the rumor spread this wide? Gu Jingze was the head of the family and there were so many important things recently. Thus, any slight movement at Gu Jingze's side would immediately alert the eyes of many. At this moment, Shui Mengqi also started getting ready. Get ready for the show today. Understood. Just then, Gu Jingze's car stopped at the entrance. Everyone immediately turned their focus to over there. The car door opened. The bodyguard walked over and held the door open. Gu Jingze stepped out of the car. He wore a long-sleeved trench coat and looked very ethereal. His expression was completely casual and made everyone amazed. He looked different from his usual day at work. The Gu Jingze today looked full of life. It was just a family gathering and this get-up was not a big deal. However, everyone saw that Gu Jingze did not walk straight to the banquet. Instead, he walked around to the other side of the car. He personally held the door open on that side and the person in the car attracted everyone's attention even more. Lin Che. Originally, he should have been the most reasonable person. But now, he surprised everyone. Gu Jingze carefully helped Lin Che out of the car. The blue and yellow colors of Lin Che's coat matched elegantly, but upon closer look she actually wore the same colors as Gu Jingze. She looked up at Gu Jingze, smiled, and stood next to him. Gu Jingze held her, looked forward, and walked steadily. The couple walked breezily. To some people's surprising discovery, the couple actually wore couple outfits. Their child was so big already and they still wore couple outfits. Since when was Gu Jingze so mushy? Everyone's impression of Gu Jingze was nothing like this at all. Shui Ningxian was stunned. Shui Mengqi walked over from behind and saw Shui Ningxian. What is going on? Shui Mengqi could not hide her anger. Shui Ningxian said, stay calm. We don't know if they are pretending or not. Shui Mengqi thought about it and agreed. They probably would not fight in public. However, looking at the couple hold hands as they walked really made her eyes hurt. Gu Jingze and her walked all the way to the door. He lowered his head and carried her. Then, he stepped over the tall threshold of the door with her in his arms. Lin Che's feet touched the ground and she smacked his chest shyly. Her face flushed as she made him step away. Gu Jingze naturally continued to hold her hand again. As if nobody else was around, he simply continued leading the way. If this was fighting, then there would be no such thing as lovers in this world. Mu Wanqing also joined the crowd. Initially, her face was filled with worry. When she saw the couple, she was puzzled again. Lin Che was still her same boisterous self while Gu Jingze did not seem to be angry at all. He plainly held Lin Che as his gaze fell on her. It was as if he would be the first to catch every single expression on her face. Mu Wanqing smiled at Lin Che. Little Che, quickly come in. You're so heavily pregnant that it's not good for you to walk such a long distance. They are too inconsiderate to hold the banquet at such a faraway place, making you walk so much. Gu Jingze said, it's all right. I can carry her. Before Lin Che could move, Gu Jingze's arm already went around her. He scooped Lin Che up easily. Lin Che's belly faced upwards while her arm was hooked around his neck. It seemed effortless for Gu Jingze as he carried her and continued walking. His steps were even and it was as if the person in his arms was weightless. He looked so stable and looked as if he was holding a precious treasure in his arms. This surprised people more. She was merely pregnant. Did he have to care so much? She couldn't walk any more steps and had to be carried in. This child was too precious. Not to mention, Gu Jingze was the head of the family. But when Lin Che was around, he didn't seem to care about his status. However, Gu Jingze was just like that. He didn't seem to care about himself nor anyone else around. He ignored those surprised stares. There seemed to be only two kinds of people in this world. One kind was the people he cared about. The other was the people he did not care about. He would look at those he cared about while the others were non-existent to him. Chapter 1143. Who is watching this mushiness? Everyone looked at Gu Jingze in surprise and at that instant, they all thought one thing, he was so handsome. Look at how he's carrying Lin Che. So blissful. Just see how he dotes on his wife. He doesn't even care if there are people around. He'll carry her because he wants to. She is pregnant and he doesn't complain about her weight. Oh my, he's in great shape too. He's not even breathing heavily. Of course, some people sighed in the back. They felt that this generation's family head was being too soft. Wouldn't it be better if he was more aloof like Ji Yushand? This Lin Che is so not understanding. She's so heavily pregnant and she still made her husband carry her. Exactly. When we had our kids, we did everything ourselves. This is her second pregnancy too. Is she that precious? Gu Jingze naturally knew that these people would have such thoughts. However, he absolutely refused to care. He let Lin Che down beside the table. When she was on the ground, she heaved a breath and patted her chest. She looked at Gu Jingze. Was I heavy? Yes, he said. I had to be very careful with each step. Why did you still carry me? Because I'm carrying my world in my arms. Of course, you're heavy. Whoa. The people around them almost puked. Was this something Gu Jingze would say? But they heard him with their own ears. It was not fake. Was the head of the house so obedient towards Lin Che? This was too mushy. And Lin Che could accept such words. Looking at her behavior now, it seemed like she was already used to it. However, they really could not stand it. They continued staring dumbfoundedly. They felt as if their ears were damaged. They could not believe what they heard. They really could not accept it. Was this the harsh, curt, cold, and ruthless CEO they knew? Clearly not. Were they looking at an imposter today? They actually never saw closely how Gu Jingze and Lin Che normally interacted. The mouths of the Gu residence's maids were tightly sealed and nobody could get any information out of them. When everyone saw the couple, they knew that Gu Jingze doted on her a lot, but they never saw exactly how he doted on her. Today, they realized that perhaps Gu Jingze was completely and unimaginably different in front of Lin Che. This made them think carefully. The womenfolk, who witnessed the mushy scene, were both envious and jealous. They all complained to their husbands. You see how he treats his wife so well despite being the head of the clan. Now, take a look at yourself. You're only a vice president and you're so busy every day. You see how much power he has and yet doesn't abuse it at home. He's like a kitten towards his wife. This is what I call a successful man. The men were really speechless at that moment. They could only cough dryly and change the topic. They could not help but hold a grudge against this Gu Jingze. He could be mushy with his wife, but he didn't have to be mushy in front of so many people. He was so good, so handsome and so rich. Now, he's so nice to his wife too. He was on a whole other level that was way too high. If their wives were going to use him as the benchmark, how were the other men going to live in the future? After Gu Jingze sat down with Lin Che, the people at the sides could not stop staring at them. Lin Che turned her head and asked, Mom, did something happen in the family? Mu Wanqing was extremely victorious. She glared at those people and said to Lin Che, they're fine. Don't bother about them. Come, let's eat. Gu Jingze seemed to have gotten used to being the center of attention. He began eating nonchalantly as he picked food for Lin Che first before he tucked in. He continued ignoring everyone else as if they were invisible. Just then, Ji Yushand emerged. As he was still in a wheelchair, Ji Yushand was also surrounded by many people. He looked much frailer and it was obvious that his health condition was getting worse. But since he was still alive, everyone continued caring for him. They would not let anything get messed up. A few of them watched. The others did not worry much as they continued eating their food. At this moment, Shui Mengqi also walked over. Some relatives quickly said, Mengqi, you're here. It has been hard on you today. You did a great job organizing the banquet. Shui Mengqi smiled and asked, really? I'm still very nervous, but I'm glad that everyone thinks it is good. Of course, you're so talented. How could you not do a good job? Come and take a seat. Just then, someone said that Ji Jingyan was here with Lu Baikan. Mu Wanqing quickly got up and welcomed them. She had not seen Ji Jingyan for a long time. She had just returned from abroad and Lu Baikan was like a little bird by her side this time. They looked a lot more harmonious than before. Upon seeing Lin Che, Ji Jingyan quickly said, "Oh my, sister-in-law, please sit down. Your belly is so big. You don't have to stand up." Gu Jingze looked enviously at Lin Che. Even this late into the pregnancy, her waist still looked so slim. It was only her belly that was big, so it looked rather scary. But once the baby was out, Lin Che's figure was definitely going to be fine. "Sister-in-law, your figure is something to die for." Lin Che asked, "Really? The doctor told me that my body was not very suitable for childbearing." Gu Jingze said, "Doctors like to exaggerate. There's no such thing. Wasn't Nianian delivered safely?" At the side, Mu Wanqing also chimed in and said, "Exactly. It's just like that with humans. The more you fear something, the more it will happen. Don't care about anything else. Everything will be fine. As long as you relax, your body will relax too." Lin Che replied, "What Mom said." Gu Jingze sat down with them. Lu Baikan smiled as he pulled the chair for her. Mu Wanqing looked at the couple and said, "Oh my. See how lovely it is when you are so peaceful. You two better quarrel less." Gu Jingze said, "Hopefully, you can go through an entire month smoothly." "Tesk, is that what a brother should say?" Gu Jingze replied. Lu Baikan said, "It's already going to be a month. You'll have to pay me." Gu Jingze asked, "Do you really want to make a bet?" Lu Baikan smacked the table. "Of course, I'm not afraid of you." Gu Jingze looked up. "How much?" "Your call." "Your family's damn engineering company." "Deal." Lu Baikan did not believe it. He was fine now and he was definitely not going to quarrel with Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze turned to Gu Jingze and said, "Jingze, did you know? When Baikan was in Greece last month." Lu Baikan immediately felt that something was up. In Greece. In Greece, he crossed paths with Fu Chengxi. But that was just a casual meeting between friends. No, that's not right. How did Gu Jingze know about this? No, that's not right. He knew and he made the bet on purpose. Gu Jingze immediately replied, "What about last month?" The alarmed expression on Lu Baikan's face instantly raised Gu Jingze's attention even more. Chapter 1144 Don't try to slander me. Lu Baikan's expression changed. He quickly said to Gu Jingze, "You did this on purpose." While eating, Gu Jingze said airily, "Once you're done pacifying the engineering people, we'll discuss in detail." Lu Baikan exclaimed, "Gu Jingze, is this how you treat your brother-in-law over an engineering company?" Gu Jingze looked up plainly. "Without me, you guys wouldn't be able to run it for more than a month anyway." Gu Jingze was already ignoring Lu Baikan. She only glared at him and said with a firm face, "We'll talk at home." "Hey, I." Just then, Gu Jingze saw that Shui Mengqi was sitting down. She immediately said, "Hey, this is the main table. What's a distant relative like you doing here?" Shui Mengqi froze and she looked a little sour. Everyone told me to come here." A relative at the side saw this and quickly said, "Mengqi was busy preparing for this banquet the past few days." This. Gu Jingze frowned and said, "Hey, she insisted on doing it. It's not like nobody else would do it if she didn't. If she thinks it's too tough, she shouldn't have taken up the job." The few relatives' faces also turned sour. However, they could not rebut her. Especially since Gu Jingze was the direct descendant of the Gu family, nobody could go against her. It was not the same as going against Lin Che, who was a daughter-in-law. Who knew if Gu Jingze would stop liking her one day in the future? But Gu Jingze was different. No matter what, she was part of the Gu family by blood. Shui Mengqi usually never interacted much with Gu Jingze and they were not close. Looking at the latter now, Gu Jingze didn't seem too friendly towards her. However, Shui Mengqi also did not dare to do anything. She looked around and could only say meekly, "Yes, I was just giving it a try. If I did a bad job, I'd have to seek your forgiveness." The relatives watched and all pitied Shui Mengqi. Seriously, she toiled the whole time. Not only did she do well, but she was also even dissed like this. Shui Mengqi displayed submission. The people around asked her to go over. The next table immediately let Shui Mengqi join them, showing their quiet support. Shui Mengqi sat down obediently. Gu Jingyan turned around to look. She looked angry now and she unapologetically let all her anger out. Sister-in-law, what is going on here? Why haven't you taken the matriarch spot? When she said this sentence out loud, it made everyone around them look over. Shui Mengqi perked her ears up. Lin Che said, I'm still pregnant, so I don't want to think too much for the time being. On one side, a relative watched. What was the meaning of this? Did it mean that she was going to be matriarch sooner or later? They have not agreed to it. He stood up and said, Jingyan, this matriarch position is a very important role. It shouldn't be talked about so casually as if it's so easy to appoint. Gu Jingyan laughed and turned to him. Don't tell me that you get to decide who takes the role, then. Gu Jingyan asked, isn't that what you mean? When I said something, you immediately disagreed. Does that mean that only you can say who gets the role, while I can't? I did not mean that. Fourth mistress, you cannot slander me like this. Shui Ningxian saw this and stood up from behind. Fourth mistress, we are only thinking for the Gu clan. After all, the matriarch situation concerns the entire family, young and old. Naturally, everyone is very anxious. It concerns everyone, so we are all rather nervous. We believe that we should choose someone whom everyone can respect. That is the most important. Gu Jingyan replied, Senior Shui, choosing my sister-in-law would be the right option then. She is our daughter-in-law. Her son is the future successor. Of course, she is the best candidate for the matriarch role. Shui Ningxian said, this matriarch role requires managerial skills. Our clan's internal affairs are very scattered. Of course, we can't simply find just anybody to fill the role. The person needs to have experience and ability. Her name has to give confidence among the people. Gu Jingyan replied, then, my sister-in-law is even more suited. She has experience in running a company and the ability to run it well. Furthermore, she is the daughter-in-law of the Gu family and an heir of the Lu family. She's also a huge celebrity. Don't tell me that all these are not credible enough. Shui Ningxian's expression changed. Gu Jingyan turned around. Am I right, Senior Shui? Everyone watched and stopped talking. They did not want to argue with her, but they also still disagreed. Lin Che watched Gu Jingyan from the side. She was very grateful for how Gu Jingyan was willing to stand on her side at this moment. Although it was only a few words, Gu Jingyan always held a certain position in the Gu family. Secondly, she also had her own company and assets. She had her own grounds to support her views. She did not have to submit to anybody else. Thus, Gu Jingyan never had to think twice about speaking her mind. No matter what she said, nobody would dare to do anything to her anyway. Shui Ningxian gritted his teeth and said, Fourth mistress, you're considered married out of the family. You have no need to interfere with the matriarch issue. Gu Jingyan heard this and immediately turned back. I'm married out of the family. So, you're telling me that because I'm married out of the family, I'm like water that has been poured out and now, I don't even have the right to be here. Is that it? Shui Ningxian did not mean that, but she really knew how to twist one's words. At this point, Shui Mengqi stood up and quietly grabbed Shui Ningxian's waist. She had a helpless expression as if she really did not want to watch this scene. Forget it, Dad. Don't say such things to the fourth mistress. No matter what, she has the right to be here. After all, no matter who she marries, she carries the Gu family's blood. Bloodline says everything. Some people heard this and they pitied Shui Mengqi more. Even though Gu Jingyan was the fourth mistress, she shouldn't have bullied others. Fourth mistress, you carry the Gu family blood. Everyone acknowledges that, so it doesn't matter what you say. However, there are some people who do not carry the Gu family blood. Mengqi is my distant relative and is truly related to my side of the Gu family. But some people are complete outsiders. If she has the ability, so be it. If she doesn't, why should we trust her? Gu Jingyan looked at the person who spoke up. Is a distant relative closer or the mother of my Gu family's future successor? A distant relative can totally take the Gu family's money and run far away, but Lin Che has absolutely no need to. That is because no matter what she does or does not do, the future successor will still be her son. Enough. Shui Mengqi looked at Gu Jingyan. My father did indeed say something wrong, but this is also because he found out a little problem with Lin Che. That is why he is so agitated. A little problem. Chapter 11:45 Stomach suddenly hurt. Everyone's gaze was on them. Shui Mengqi said with a sad face, "We didn't want to say it initially, but since you doubt our intentions, I have no other choice. My father found out that Qin Qing is actually in contact with Lin Che. That is why he objects to Lin Che becoming the matriarch." The entire place was silent. Then, Gu Jingze stood up. All eyes looked up at him. Lin Che also stood up and looked at Shui Mengqi. "What are you saying?" Shui Mengqi scoffed. "Lin Che, if you don't want anyone to know, don't do it. Did you think nobody would know what kind of relationship you and Qin Qing have? Tell us what happened between you two at the hotel recently. Tell us." Those few words already made people think 1,000 thoughts. They even went to a hotel. What could happen? Lin Che grunted. "Qin Qing and I were classmates when we were little. Is there a problem with that? At the hotel, I really have no idea what you're talking about." Shui Mengqi naturally knew that she would not admit to it. "I have evidence in my hands. We all saw you at the hotel that day. You and Qin Qing entered a room one after the other. After some time, Gu Jingze then rushed in. You guys then left on a sour note. The video is here. Why don't you take a look?" She made some changes to the video. Once edited, it was extremely ambiguous. Now, she tossed a memory stick onto the table. Shui Mengqi looked at the two of them with a sad expression. "I didn't want to believe it, but since something like this has happened, I can only decide to break up with Qin Qing. I thought that you two went overboard. You've been pregnant for so long, but you didn't care. You and Qin Qing even you knew that we were dating." Everyone naturally believed Shui Mengqi. They thought that Shui Mengqi could not possibly sacrifice her own boyfriend in order to sabotage someone. She even had to rip off her bandage in front of everyone. However, she really was someone who dared to do that. Someone took the memory stick. Gu Jingze said, "That's enough, Shui Mengqi. You can slander me, but you cannot slander Lin Che." Shui Mengqi looked at him. "Cousin, do you still want to protect Lin Che at a time like this?" "Yes," he replied. Everyone halted. Nobody could comprehend what he said. Shui Mengqi asked, "Cousin, even if this is how she treats you, you would still forgive her?" Gu Jingze replied, "That's right." "You." Who would have thought that Gu Jingze would not be angry at all? If he was not angry, this show could not go on. At the side, Gu Jingyan burst into laughter. "Hey, you guys are really something. My brother saw it and he is aware of it, yet you still want to malign my sister-in-law. Why don't you take a look at the guy? Does he qualify to agitate my brother? What was his name? Qin what?" Shui Mengqi froze again. Gu Jingyan asked again, "What did you say just now? You caught them entering a hotel room. Are hotels only for one purpose? Your mind is really polluted. You know that my sister-in-law is pregnant and you still malign her. Furthermore, take a look at the man you like. Just because you like him, does it mean that others will surely like him too? I have evidence. What grounds do you have to say that about me?" Shui Mengqi was starting to not care about her image. Gu Jingyan was too overbearing and it made her forget to maintain a demure image. Gu Jingyan said, "Do I still need evidence? Bring the man you're talking about here and put him next to my brother to compare. Is he as good as my brother? Is he enough to make my sister-in-law have a change of heart? She has been with my brother for so many years. Would she still fall for another man? Do you really think anyone else would be blind like you?" Shui Mengqi exclaimed, "Gu Jingyan, you are being absurd. I didn't do anything to you. Why do you have to insult me?" Nobody had ever seen Shui Mengqi so agitated. They also looked at Shui Mengqi now with surprise. Shui Mengqi froze and then regained composure. She realized that she was getting too agitated. Because Gu Jingyan's words were really too awful to hear and it made her lose control. "Enough." Just then, Lin Che's voice rang plainly from behind. She walked over and said, "I just wanted to see who was trying to slander me and scheme against me. That is why I listened until now. I would never have imagined this. Miss Shui, there may be competition between you and me, but if you have something to say, just be direct. You don't have to beat about the bush and do things to set me up." Who is setting you up? I don't care about framing you at all. Shui Mengqi was getting anxious and she was losing control. In comparison, Lin Che was much calmer because she already knew this would happen. Everyone watched and felt that the tables have turned. How was Lin Che so calm and indifferent, while Shui Mengqi looked so worked up? She looked like the one who had the upper hand just before but was now on the losing end. Shui Mengqi stood in front of her. At that moment, she was like an unruly village woman. It was simply unsightly. Lin Che said, I just thought that it was strange at that time. How was Qin Qing able to go to my hotel? If it wasn't because he was my good friend and I'd known him for many years, I wouldn't have believed his words. He told me that you asked him to meet you there. I still can't believe anybody would do such a thing to their own boyfriend, but you turned out to be this ruthless. Because of this matriarch position, you are willing to set up the people around you. Gu Jingze knew long ago. When he went into the room, Qin Qing was just telling me that he had been watching the whole journey. He was very angry, but he was angry at the fact that the Gu family churned out a person like you. It's not because of anything else. Shui Mengqi's expression became worse. It was harder for her to control herself. Lin Che was more dominant now. She glared at Shui Mengqi. You can compete with me fair and square, but you can't insult my character like that. Shui Mengqi, based on this alone, I will not forgive you. I did no such thing. You have no proof that I did it. You know what your relationship with Qin Qing is. Don't try to seduce him and talk bad about me. Gu Jingyan stood up and looked at the two of them. Brother is on sister-in-law's side. I'm also on her side. Let me ask you, Shui Mengqi. Who is standing on your side? Who is willing to believe you? Everyone simply watched and did not know how to react at all. The few people standing with Lin Che already appeared to form a formidable wall. Those were the Gu family's cream of the crop. Nobody dared to defy them. However, at this moment, Lin Che suddenly felt a movement in her belly. Lin Che almost fell back into her seat. It suddenly hurt a lot. Chapter 1146 I want to be with her. Gu Jingze instantly noticed the change in her expression. What's wrong, Lin Che? Lin Che had one hand on her belly while her other hand grabbed Gu Jingze's. The baby, my belly hurts. Gu Jingze's gaze changed. At the side, Shui Ningxian did not believe it. The belly coincidentally hurt at a time like this. How convenient it was to fool others when one was pregnant. Was she trying to take this chance and prevent everyone from watching the video? Was she really worried about something? Shui Ningxian immediately stood up and asked, does it really hurt? There's a doctor at home. You don't have to go all the way to the hospital. Let the in-house doctor check on you. Whether she was bluffing or not, wouldn't the doctor be able to tell? However, as soon as Shui Ningxian said that, Gu Jingze's cold eyes already looked at him like a pair of daggers. As if Shui Ningxian got cut by those eyes, his expression weakened. Gu Jingze carried Lin Che and stared in Shui Ningxian's direction. Make way. If anything happens to Lin Che, I'll make all of you pay. This sentence was powerful and thunderous. Everyone looked at Gu Jingze's face, which already seemed to be in the depths of hell. Usually, he was cold, but he never looked this determined. Now, he had scary energy that seemed to linger in his entire body. Like vicious currents from the deep sea, people could not help but shudder. Shui Ningxian did not want to let go of this chance. He gritted his teeth and persisted. Jingze, as the head of the family, you can't always give in to her. She's just carrying a child. It's no big deal. You can't leave. Just carrying a child? Gu Jingze looked at Shui Ningxian. Based on the fact that he was a senior and had some prestige in the Gu family, Shui Ningxian ran directly over there and stretched out his arms to block Gu Jingze. With determination on his face, he seemed adamant in not letting Lin Che leave. But just then, Lin Che's belly hurt even more. She clenched her hands and clutched Gu Jingze's clothes. He could clearly feel the grip strength in her palm. Gu Jingze looked coolly at Shui Ningxian in front of him, lifted a leg, and pushed against his chest. He did not show restraint. Shui Ningxian was kicked off for a good 2 meters before falling to the ground. He held his hand against his chest and looked up in shock. Gu Jingze said coldly, Whoever dares to stop me again will definitely die without a trace. Shui Ningxin's throat was numb. He wanted to say something, but only blood spewed out from his mouth. Gu Jingze, you are putting a woman before your clan member. Everyone was also shocked. Shui Ningxin said, stop them. The Shui family will not be bullied by a woman. He did not dare to say that it was Gu Jingze who bullied him. He pushed it all onto Lin Che. Some relatives who witnessed this were also very agitated. They looked at Shui Ningxin and thought that Gu Jingze really went overboard. Since there were so many people, it immediately became chaotic. However, Gu Jingze's people already surrounded them in no time. Shui Ningxin's people were also surrounded. No matter how many people Shui Ningxin had, they were not as strong as Gu Jingze's guards. But Gu Jingze's men were not small in numbers now. They stood tall and mighty as they herded everyone to the center. They did not budge. Shui Mengqi helped Shui Ningxin up. He said angrily, the Shui family objects to Lin Che with our lives. We refuse to let her become the matriarch. Even if she becomes the matriarch, we will not accept it. He naturally did not dare to say that he would quit the Gu Industries. The Gu Industries have never split up before. The clan remained united for hundreds of years. If he mentioned splitting up, he would be asking for a beating from their ancestors. He would not dare. Furthermore, relying on the strong backing of the Gu family enabled all the relatives to get stronger. They would absolutely not do something that would put them on the losing end. However, he was still furious. He, Shui Ningxin, was kicked until he spat blood in front of so many people. That was extremely embarrassing. Many relatives who watched also decided against Lin Che becoming matriarch. At the hospital, one floor was blocked off quickly. All the doctors dashed towards the emergency room. The expected due date is next month. She is 20 days early. Her water already broke. Everything is prepared. Notify the dean and check if the pediatric department is ready. This child is fragile. Make sure everyone is prepared. As the expected due date was more than 20 days away, the obstetrician and pediatrician that Gu Jingze appointed could only arrive 10 days later. In this unexpected event, bringing them over would still require at least a few hours. However, Lin Che's water already broke and they could not wait any longer. Gu Jingze stayed beside Lin Che. He looked at her and held her hand. Lin Che, I'm here. Does it hurt? Being held by Gu Jingze, Lin Che did not want to show that she was weak and make him worry. I'm fine. You can go out, she said. However, as she spoke, another wave of pain surged through her belly. Her hand clenched down on his again, involuntarily. Gu Jingze felt it and he held her tightly. I will always be with you. No, childbirth is hideous. I don't want you to watch, Lin Che exclaimed. No, I'm not leaving. Gu Jingze took her hand and kissed it lightly. I want to look at you. No. Lin Che exclaimed. Beside her, the doctor and nurses quickly said, Sir, you have to leave the room. We're going to deliver the baby. The regulation here was that husbands had to leave the room. They were not allowed to stay and watch. However, Gu Jingze looked up. His eyes were cold and he looked icy. Those watching behind were stunned. He said, I already said that I want to stay here and make sure that my wife and child are safe. The doctor was dumbfounded as he stood there. But it's our hospital rule. Rule, change it now. The doctor wanted to say something, but the nurse quickly said, okay. Dr. Chen, the lady needs to deliver. Watch her while I ask the director. The doctor had no choice but to bite the bullet and start delivering the baby. But the hospital usually did not allow anyone else to be in here. Furthermore, for a guy like that, the doctor felt greatly pressured and was afraid of making any mistakes. He looked down and checked. Outside, the nurse consulted the director who quickly said, all right. If Gu Jingze wants to stay in there, nobody can drag him out. If he's inside, so be it. Just take good care of his wife. If you want our hospital to survive, then do a good job. Otherwise, nobody can save us. The nurse hurried in and saw that Lin Che was already pushing hard. Meanwhile, Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che and said softly, Lin Che, does it hurt? Does it hurt a lot? That voice was heart-wrenching. If outsiders saw this, their hearts would be moved. Chapter 1147 Strangle her and her child. Lin Che shook her head. It doesn't hurt. You're lying. You're already sweating. He touched her forehead and his fingers brushed her hair aside. He caressed her cheek and said, let's not have any more kids just this time. It'll only hurt for a while, okay? Yes, let's not. Seriously, it was only at this moment that they would have this thought. Gu Jingze also started to regret it. They already had Nianian, why did they have another now? It caused her pain, so much pain. Until his heart trembled. Okay, we won't have any more kids. Once this is over, we'll go out and have fun. Where do you want to go? I want to go to the North Pole. Okay, we'll go to the North Pole. I want to see the Northern Lights. Okay, I'll take you. I want to stay in a house with a glass roof. Okay, I'll take you. Gu Jingze kissed the back of her hand as he stayed right beside her. Outside, people were going in and out. The nurses who went out were so touched that their eyes were brimming with tears. Mr. Gu is really so nice to his wife. He kept saying not to have any more kids. How heart-wrenching. In normal wealthy families, many favored males and children over wives. The more children there were, the more rewards there would be. Children were treated as tools. But Gu Jingze was unlike those people. You see, the more handsome the man, the nicer he is to his wife. He's so rich and he's so doting to his wife. Watching them makes me so envious. However, Lin Che simply could not deliver. Her water had already broke, but the baby was not coming out. Her dilation was only 4 fingers wide and did not go any further. The doctor was anxious. Gu Jingze turned back to look at the doctor. His gaze made the doctor feel as if he was going to die. Gu Jingze watched Lin Che suffer for almost an hour with no progress. He looked up and asked strictly, what is going on? Why is she still in pain? The doctor's face turned white and he almost wanted to cry. Sir, well, her cervix is not fully dilated. We are also monitoring it at all times. If there is no progress and if this persists, we'll have to do a C-section. Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes and wanted to speak. Lin Che quickly tugged his hand. It's only been a little while. Be patient. Some people can be in labor for a whole day. If he kept this up, the doctor might die of fear. Didn't he know that his presence here made the doctor more nervous? Gu Jingze said, a day? No way, let's do the C-section. Lin Che shook her head. I still can hold on a little longer. Let's wait and see. When I had Nianian, I was also in labor for a few hours. It's okay. But as long as the baby is fine, I can still bear this little bit of pain. However, he couldn't bear it. Looking at her like this, a day felt like a year. But even so, he still respected her wish. If she wanted to hang on, he would let her. Outside, there were people already dealing under the table. Lin Che's sudden labor caught many people off guard. However, some who were prepared continued to move into action. Lin Che still has not delivered. If nothing happens, we have these needles. Just one can completely suffocate Lin Che and the baby today. She might not be able to survive. What drug is this? It's a miscarriage prevention drug. It's been used a few times overseas. It's very useful during pregnancy, but during labor, it will prevent the cervix from opening and cause the body to stiffen. The baby won't be able to come out and could possibly die in the womb. Okay, use it. Increase the dosage. Gu Jingze is inside now while it's chaotic outside. He might not be able to notice. Yes. In the dark, the group of people quietly entered the hospital. The white space was mixed with darkness, making the already nervous hospital atmosphere feel even more crowded. Meanwhile, in the lounge, Lin Che was still in excruciating pain. She exclaimed, Gu Jingze, I can't. It hurts a lot. Why don't you go out? Don't bother about me. No, I'm not going out, Lin Che. I have to watch you. But what use was he to stay here? She did not want him to become too anxious if he continued watching. She experienced labor before and she knew that this looked very scary. She did not want him to witness it. However, her belly hurt so much. Why hadn't the baby moved at all? She gritted her teeth and endured the pain. The doctor heard her yelp and walked in anxiously again. The few people monitored her belly to see if the baby had any movement. Sir, we might have to induce labor. The cervix is not opening. We don't have a choice. Lin Che nodded. Do it. Gu Jingze gazed at Lin Che deeply and nodded. Do it. The doctor quickly sent someone to prepare the supplies. Gu Jingze watched as a person came in to switch out a drip bag for Lin Che. He stared at the person and looked at the yellow medicine bottle. After placing it down, the person took the original antibiotic drip bag. Gu Jingze watched as the yellow medicine was just about to be inserted. Wait, Gu Jingze grabbed hold of the doctor's wrist. The male doctor's eyes shifted alarmingly. He stopped the man. I didn't see you just now. The man said, I have always been around. You probably didn't notice. No, you never came in before. You're lying. Gu Jingze's eyes narrowed as he grabbed the bottle and threw it away. Lin Che froze and watched Gu Jingze drag the person directly to the treatment table at the side. Gu Jingze never forgot a face. He knew exactly how many people there were and how each one of them looked like clearly. He would not be wrong. This man was absolutely not included. The man froze. Seeing as he had been discovered, he simply pulled out a gun and aimed a shot at Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze, Lin Che shouted with strength that came out of nowhere. She immediately sat up. Gu Jingze's eyes were sharp and he was quick. He avoided getting shot in the most critical area, but the bullet still managed to hit his left shoulder. The man saw that he missed. However, Gu Jingze's white shirt was already stained with fresh red blood. The man then aimed the gun at Lin Che. Gu Jingze lunged at the man and grabbed his wrist. The gun fell onto the ground. The man hit Gu Jingze at his gun wound. Gu Jingze remained silent as he locked the man down with his body. Just then, there was a loud bang above his head. Gu Jingze only felt the person below him twitch. He froze and looked up. Lin Che held a gun in one hand. She trembled as she looked at the person. That shot was from her. Meanwhile, the person already stopped breathing. He was killed with one shot. Gu Jingze pushed the man away. Lin Che also seemed to have used up all her strength. The gun fell from her hand while she took a few steps back. Chapter 1148 She is my wish. Before she fell, Gu Jingze already grabbed hold of her. Lin Che could not care about anything else. She grabbed onto his waist. I can't. The baby's coming out. I can feel it. However, the doctor and nurses ran out a long time ago and there was nobody else in the room. Gu Jingze looked around and did not see anybody. He shouted outside, somebody, get a doctor. Lin Che is giving birth. However, there was nobody outside. Lin Che tugged him weakly and shook her head. It's okay. Put me down on the bed. Gu Jingze gritted his teeth and put her down on the bed. She pulled the iron ring that was prepared on the bed, positioned her legs, and pushed hard. Ah! She shouted in pain, but the baby still could not come out. Gu Jingze watched at the side. This won't do. I'll get the doctor. Lin Che shook her head. Don't leave me. At this point, she did not want to be left alone with a dead body. Gu Jingze looked down at the body on the ground. He nodded and held her hand again. Lin Che let out a breath and gritted her teeth. She said, it's just childbirth. I can do it. I don't need any help. Gu Jingze could only continue holding her hand. Lin Che pushed hard as she shouted. Ah! She lifted her head and used all her strength. After a while, she felt something rush out of her body. Gu Jingze, the baby. The baby is out. Gu Jingze was just concerned about other things. He looked at Lin Che and already forgot about everything else. Hearing her scream, he quickly went to carry the baby. The baby's head had a bit of gray. The body was covered with traces of blood. Knowing that this was all Lin Che's blood, it made him feel even worse. He carried the warm baby who wailed. This was the first time he had ever experienced such a feeling. Hearing Lin Che catch her breath as she laid back down, he felt a little overwhelmed. He could be a mighty emperor against thousands of horses and soldiers, but he really was at a loss when faced with a fragile baby. Lin Che got up and said, "I need scissors to cut off the umbilical cord." Listening to Lin Che's instruction, he immediately found a pair. Although his head was a mess now, he was still Gu Jingze. His judgment was still there and his priming ability was still there. His natural sense of operation allowed him to quickly understand what he needed to do. His brain clicked fast and he deliberated. He knew what the things that had to be done now were. He put the baby down and clipped the umbilical cord. Lin Che continued using strength to squeeze out the remnants from her womb. Only then would the process be complete. After that, she was completely weak. Gu Jingze hugged her in one arm and carried the baby in the other. She had completely forgotten about all the pain as she walked out of the labor ward. However, not a single soul was in sight outside. The huge hospital suddenly seemed to have been completely emptied out. Lin Che suddenly felt cold. She looked at Gu Jingze and asked, "Where is everyone?" Gu Jingze said, "Something probably happened while I was inside. Don't worry, we'll find another place for you to rest." Okay. With Gu Jingze around, Lin Che naturally was not worried. She was only fatigued now as she lost quite a lot of blood just now. Her body was still very weak. She walked carefully while Gu Jingze supported her. She did not know how long she could continue walking. Suddenly, someone jumped down from a broken window above. Lin Che was alarmed. However, the person called out, "Miss." That pleasantly surprised tone brought a sense of familiarity to Lin Che. "Dongzi found them," she said. "Dongzi, you're here." Dongzi quickly helped to support Lin Che. He led them to a safe ward. After settling Lin Che, Dongzi then explained the situation outside. Some people took advantage of today's events and suddenly barged into the hospital. It was warfare in the hospital. Gu Jingming already brought his men to lock down this area. But some of the troublemakers already escaped in the chaos and their whereabouts were unknown. Gu Jingze's men definitely suffered some losses because they did not expect the opposition to suddenly infiltrate the area with guns. Gu Jingze's bodyguards were also at a loss. Gu Jingming made an immediate decision to evacuate everyone here. Then, a small team entered to survey the area and find the troublemakers. They looked through every house and left no room for error. Otherwise, the chaos would put Gu Jingze and Lin Che in danger. Meanwhile, they began searching from the ground floor up. As Dongzi was worried about Lin Che and Gu Jingze, he searched every floor from the top down. Coincidentally, he saw them from the window on this floor and quickly broke in. Lin Che endured the pain and asked weakly, "Did we lose a lot of people?" Dongzi did not want to worry her, but since she already asked, he could not lie. Some of them at the entrance. They seemed to have perished with the enemy. Thankfully, because of their protection, Miss and Sir are fine. Lin Che sighed and closed her eyes. Who could be so cruel in the dark? Gu Jingze remained silent as he looked outside. His side profile was like a proud plum in the winter, cool but standing proudly alone. There was a hint of stubbornness beneath the bitter frost. Gu Jingze said, "Big Brother wanted to search and make them run for their lives and lose their intention to kill us. And these people saw that their drug plan failed as I unfoiled it. They decided to be ruthless and prepared for both scenarios. One was to kill our baby with drugs, and the other was to kill us together." Lin Che asked, "Why do people want me dead so badly?" "Because we have access to too many benefits." "Alright, Lin Che, let's not think about these things first. Wait a while and let Dongzi get help. Since they failed in killing us, they won't make a move again. We'll be okay." Lin Che held Gu Jingze's hand and saw that his arm was still bleeding. "Gu Jingze, you." Gu Jingze looked down, smiled, and shook his head. He looked at his daughter and then at Lin Che. "Silly, I'm fine. I still can carry you and our daughter." "That's right, their daughter." Lin Che looked down at the fragile infant and a surge of emotions filled her. Such a cute baby. He lowered his head and caressed the baby. She let out a bright cry that was not demure at all. She was like a little warrior princess. Gu Jingze asked, "What should we name her?" "What do you think?" "Gu Xiuan, she is my wish. I wish that from this day onwards, neither you nor she will ever come in harm's way. Lin Che smiled and held on to him. Okay, we'll go with that. Chapter 1149. It was a little sister. It was already a mess outside. Everyone was looking for Gu Jingze and Lin Che. And also those people who started the sudden shootdown. B City was completely under lockdown. All mail could not be sent out. Streets surrounding the hospital were blocked off. The doctors and nurses were not allowed to leave and were gathered in a meeting room. They were only allowed to leave after being thoroughly reviewed. The strict investigation frightened them. As doctors and nurses, they have never been in such a situation. However, they knew that they experienced something that they would never have imagined in their lives. And they were still brought here for investigation. The positive thing was that after the review, Mr. President would personally talk to the hospital staff and thank them for their cooperation because some dangerous subjects infiltrated the hospital. They had to be reviewed because of this. After that, everyone would be safe. Everyone was released after being comforted by these words. However, they still had to go through procedure after procedure. They could not go home just yet. Once everyone reported their safety to their families, they waited outside for updates. There were no reports of this on TV. The blood-stained hospital was cleaned up quickly. However, the bullet holes on the walls could not be covered up, leaving lingering traces of the shootdown that made everyone shudder. After Dongzi found Lin Che and Gu Jingze, they were quickly brought outside safely. At home, Lin Che laid on the bed, surrounded by doctors and nurses. Everybody at home was waiting outside to see the baby, but they were all held back. Lin Che needed to rest. She had spent too much energy because of what happened in the hospital. Thankfully, the baby was fine and so was she. She was only weak because she lost blood. Nianian watched the tiny baby from the side. His face was filled with a mix of emotions. Nianian sighed and shook his head. This amused Lin Che greatly. Nianian, see how your sister loves you. Why don't you say hi to her? Nianian really wanted to scratch his head. He looked at the baby and simply did not dare to touch her. She's too small. What if I break her with one touch? I'm not greeting her. Hey, it's just a greeting. Nothing bad will happen. It will. I don't want to. Ha ha ha, Nianian, you're actually scared of a baby. Gu Shinian looked up with a glum face. He still could not think about it now. When this little witch got older, how would she pester him until he did not know what to do? He would even have to carry this helpless little girl and gently advise her to be obedient and teach her not to create trouble. If he was harsher, she would cry and he would have no way of appeasing her. Of course, these would all be in the future. Now, Nianian could only sigh and caress the baby's chubby hand. He thought that babies were really the scariest things on earth. She looked too fragile. But this was his little sister. When Gu Jingze came in, Lin Che woke up groggily. Seeing as it was already dark outside, she asked, "What time is it?" "It's very late. You should sleep." He caressed her face and sat down. There were many people looking after the baby and Lin Che need not worry. She only needed to focus on recovering. Lin Che asked, "Why haven't you slept yet? Are you still busy?" "Yes." "That day's incident, is it a lot of trouble?" First, it was the argument at home that riled up the relatives. Then, so many things happened at the hospital. Gu Jingze caressed her hair. The relatives definitely have their differences now. There have always been differences anyway. It is easy to balance power among them. At the very most, they'll just argue among themselves, but they wouldn't dare to sever ties. They wouldn't take the chance to do anything, would they? They won't dare to, but the divide is clearer now. I'm afraid everyone's powers and alliances will only be clearer in the future too. So, what now? Sooner or later, I'll still get rid of them. This will be done slowly. He kissed her forehead. How are you feeling? Lin Che said, still a little dizzy. You need to nourish your body. I don't need that much nourishing. She asked, what about the hospital incident? Gu Jingze said, investigations are still ongoing, but we got nothing so far. Apart from the bodies left behind, we didn't catch any living person. Those alive also already killed themselves. It looks like they don't intend to leave a single trace for us. All right, But for such ruthless people must be pretty strong. There was careful planning. The enemy definitely has the strength to go against us. Lin Che thought about these internal and external troubles. She felt a little depressed. Gu Jingze propped himself up and looked at her. Silly, don't think too much. It has always been like this in the Gu family. There will always be trouble, but all of it can be handled. You must trust me. Okay, I trust you. He felt around for her lips. All the troubles were not troubles. In his eyes, they were like dust and could be ignored. However, when he thought about how she actually raised a gun to shoot someone under those circumstances and stained her hands with blood, he could not stay quiet. They have been searching tirelessly for the culprit for the past few days. He thought about Lin Che holding a gun every day. It made him desperate to find and finish off the culprit so that Lin Che would never have to go through this again. So that they could live a peaceful life together. Although complete peace was impossible, he still wanted to try his best. Lin Che wanted to avoid him. It was in the middle of the night and she did not brush her teeth. Her mouth felt unpleasant and she did not want him to kiss her. But Gu Jingze did not care. He held her down and continued kissing her lips. Don't do it, I haven't brushed my teeth. What's wrong with that? I stink. Yeah, you always stink. Sweet, his tongue pressed into her mouth. How can that be? Really, you're sweet all over. I don't believe you. You wouldn't know because you never tasted yourself. He smiled as he held her down. But I have. Every spot, every corner is sweet. Why did this sound so wrong? Every corner. How dirty. Next, he pressed her down and kissed her harder. Lin Che's hands moved to circle his neck until she was breathing heavily. When she was about to make a move, her hand touched his waist. He let out a little groan. She then suddenly remembered. Oh no, your hand. He looked down. Damn, it was bleeding again. Lin Che exclaimed anxiously, quick, get the doctor. The doctor quickly rushed over. Gu Jingze's condition had not been good, and he continued working hard. The wound kept opening up because of this. The doctor said, Sir, you need to take a good rest. Gu Jingze looked up. The doctor did not dare to say anything more because of his cold stare. Chapter 1150 I'll give you anything you want. Beside him, Lin Che hastily said, Yes, yes. Don't tire yourself out so much. Gu Jingze said, I'm fine. The doctor did not say anything further. He could only look on helplessly. No matter how much he had advised him over the past few days, it had been useless. Thus, he no longer wanted to try and persuade him. He thought that Lin Che would probably not be able to do anything either. After all, this patient was way too powerful. There was no way he could say anything. However, he saw Lin Che crawl beside him despite this. She looked at him and said, No way. You're not allowed to go to work anymore tomorrow. Don't worry, I'm really fine. But you said before that your arm must recover so that you can hug Xiuan and me. In your present state, how can you hug us? Gu Jingze moved slightly. She said, if you don't hug me in the future, who should I look to for a hug? Otherwise, I'll find someone else to hug me. Come back here. Gu Jingze looked at her. That's enough. It's just a minor injury. I'll be fine. He looked up in exasperation at the doctor. You've stitched me up, right? Yes, yes, yes. The doctor quickly crouched down and continued working. He looked at Lin Che beside him and thought to himself that Madame always knew what to do. He would definitely have lost patience with them a long time ago. But he immediately went silent after 2 sentences from Lin Che. Lin Che clung to Gu Jingze. However, she was feeling very bored inside. She would be even more bored without him around. So, she pulled his hand towards her and asked him to keep her company. If you're not around, I can only lie down here and watch the maids look after the children. They won't let me touch the children either. It's way too boring. If you're around, I can still chat with you, right? Hearing her words, his heart softened. He nodded at her and said, I'll keep you company here tomorrow. Only then were her spirits lifted. He looked at her in frustration. Meeting her was really like meeting a creditor. And it was a debt he was willing to pay. From the next day onwards, he actually moved his workplace to her room. Confinement was truly a very boring process. Lin Che rested for a few days. Her only hobbies were watching the television and browsing Weibo. Furthermore, she was not allowed to do these for too long. They were afraid that there would be problems with her eyes if she did these things for too long. Although Lin Che felt that there should be no major problems, she, nevertheless, treated it as a tradition to be respected. Fortunately, it was not as the rumors said. She was not prohibited from showering and from brushing her teeth. If that were really the case, she would have been so disgusted with her dirty self. She recalled her days abroad. For some reason, foreigners did not care about these things at all. During her confinement period, they still permitted her to eat cakes. She was terribly shocked too. On the other hand, it was not that bad here. There were people who helped her shower and wash her hair. They would simply make sure that she did not catch a cold. Upon hearing that Lin Che had given birth to a girl, everyone felt that daughters were not as precious as sons. If she had given birth to another son, they would be able to accept it too. But with a daughter, they were ultimately blessed with a son and a daughter. Furthermore, they heard that Gu Jingze had never cared about whether it was a son or a daughter and was particularly doting on the child. Thus, they rushed to visit them, bringing presents too. Everyone was turned away at the door, but all the presents were accepted. In Gu Jingze's words, it did not mean anything for them to accept the presents anyway. Since they gave them, he took them. Refusing them would be a waste. Lin Che instructed the maids to bring all the presents to her. She was flabbergasted when she looked at the presents. There were so many expensive gifts. Her heart bloomed with joy as she looked at them. I can earn so much money giving birth to a child. These people are so generous. Gu Jingze said, of course. These people had tried their best to fit his fancy after hearing that he doted on his daughter. It was a pity that Gu Jingze did not even glance at the gifts. Lin Che said, tisk, tisk. If they find out that you didn't even glance at their presents, they would definitely be upset. They should already count their blessings at the fact that I took the presents. Lin Che wondered in disbelief what these people were trying to achieve. They knew for sure that he did not lack anything, but they were still anxious to give him presents. Did they think that Gu Jingze would look their way a few more times because they had given him presents? If they found out that Gu Jingze was completely unaware of who exactly had given him these presents and simply accepted all of them, she reckoned that they would really cry. Her confinement period passed in the midst of accepting various presents. Initially, they refused to see anyone. But she met Yu Minmin and Mu Feiren when they came, respectively. Yu Minmin had arrived with her child in tow. While looking at the plump baby, Yu Minmin said enviously, she's so fair and plump. I didn't expect your child to be so plump when you're so skinny. Of course, my child absorbs nutrition well. Lin Che had not expected the baby to get so heavy after merely 20 days of being born. She had weighed fewer than 3.5 kilograms at birth. Thereafter, she grew at an alarming speed. Looking at her again now, she had already turned into a plump little girl. But she was still very adorable in her plump state. Yu Minmin said, the child looks so much like your husband. Lin Che felt the same way when she looked at her too. Although she was very beautiful, she really looked a lot like Gu Jingze. Lin Che was not happy about this. Why did all the children she gave birth to resemble Gu Jingze so closely? Gu Jingze was extremely happy when he heard this. At the side, a rare and tiny smile appeared on his face. Yu Minmin was so shocked when she saw it. A while later, once Gu Jingze had gone out, Yu Minmin said, Gu Jingming has been dealing with this matter for a very long time. Even the hospital got into trouble. I think they opened only after being closed for a month. Lin Che asked, did you hear any gossip about how the Gu family is doing now? She was worried that Gu Jingze had not told her because he was afraid she would be concerned. Yu Minmin said, things are all right. Everyone is just saying that you're a harbinger of disaster and that you immediately caused a split in the Gu family or something. But no one dares to confront Gu Jingze directly either. After all, Gu Jingze is clearly saying that he's not worried about offending any clan relative for your sake. Shui Ningxian is so furious that he hasn't gone out of the house for a few days. Shui Mengqi also stayed at home for a few days. It looks as if she's hell-bent on opposing you in the future. You should be a bit more careful. Lin Che huffed. I don't care. She can come to me if she wants to. If she really wants to come looking for trouble, I definitely won't easily admit defeat. Yu Minmin said, but Gu Jingze probably lost many people too. It seems that he has been recruiting personal guards recently. He has also instructed many training camps to intensify training. Lin Che sighed. She thought of the people in the hospital who had lost their lives for no reason. She felt terrible about it as well. There were a few familiar faces that she would never see again. They were immensely loyal and truly very dedicated to their work too. They had given up their lives to stall for time in order to allow Gu Jingze and her to return safely. Lin Che said, take out a bit of my money and send them some compensation. I hope their family members can have better lives. Don't worry, Gu Jingze won't skimp on the compensation. It has nothing to do with Gu Jingze. It is also a show of my sincerity, Lin Che said. Hearing this, Yu Minmin nodded. All right. After leaving, Yu Minmin herself was surrounded by numerous clan relatives of the Gu family. Because they knew that Yu Minmin was the only one who managed to meet her among the many people who had come, all of them were asking about the exact situation inside. As Yu Minmin was on Lin Che's side, she naturally would not say too much. But after returning, she first helped Lin Che to send compensation to them. Thereafter, Lin Che was finally out of confinement. The first thing she did was to walk up the mountain to pay her respects to the personal guards who had sacrificed their lives this time. She then took the children back to the Gu residence to greet the elders of the Gu family. Gu Jingze indulged her even more after she had given birth. He hated that he could not pick all the stars out of the sky and give them to her. He wanted to give her everything she wanted. Even the maids at home were a bit unaccustomed to it despite having been with them for many years.